Hey guys, just wanted to sneak in a quick apology here. We recorded this episode at Joe's apartment before a party he was throwing, and we thought we would have enough time before people started to show up, but we were very wrong. As a result, we had to pause the episode at one point to answer the door, and there's a lot of random remarks from our friends as they pass by while we record. And by the end of the episode, there is legitimately just an actual party taking place in the background, and it's audible. So that's why it sounds like Joe and I are reporting courtside from a playoff basketball game, and also why we probably sound really awkward and distracted. We are awkward, and we were distracted. So I know the few of you who actually listen to these episodes probably don't really care, since this podcast has always been about entertainment over excellence anyway, but I still feel we have to apologize. Hopefully one day we'll be in a private, soundproof studio, but until then, it's Joe and I in our dining rooms with whoever happens to walk in. In this instance, it's a whole party. So sorry for partying too hard. Thanks for listening, and enjoy our drunken review of The Nice Guys.
Hi, my name's Joe.
And I'm Mike.
And you're listening to How Many Fingers Am I Holding Up? The podcast. And this week, we'll be reviewing The Nice Guys.
They were pretty nice, but they could have been just a little bit nicer in my opinion.
Hey everyone, and welcome to How Many Fingers Am I Holding Up? Featuring two guys getting sensual and reviewing movies in a weekly podcast format.
And thank you to our good friend Phil Chang on Facebook for that wonderful synonym. We really appreciate it, Phil. Thanks.
Thanks, Phil. Oh boy.
Oh boy. What are we doing here?
I don't know. What am I doing?
What am I doing here? So we are fresh off the release of the movie we've been teasing you about in the past few episodes, our very own short film, In Development.
Ooh, they know the title now.
You know the title. We can tell you stuff. We can even give you a description.
Ooh. Oh, do you want me to? Okay. I'm gonna read it now. A photographer experiences vivid flashbacks to a past relationship through his camera.
That's good.
I feel like IMDb would be like, yeah, is it that great? Like, you guys are making fun of me all the time. I mean, it could have been a little more clear.
You could have had two more sentences there. I think we did all right for a.
Was he a photographer? But
so I wrote.
I didn't even see that was like the note that you had.
Yeah,
was
I was
better
comparing
than
it
the
to IMDb.
It's just such a full circle thing.
Yeah. But yeah, I wrote and directed it, and Joe served as the producer. He also did some of the wardrobe stuff, and he directed the behind the scenes, which you can also watch when we give you the link later. Later. When we give you the dick link later.
And then some of our former guests, such as Joe Mano, and Jordan Weinrich. They also helped out. Joe Mano as our boom operator. And Jordan Weinrich as our beloved cinematographer.
They both did a great job. We're super thankful. And my good friend Evan Vinjamori, who is he's got his solo project, Moving Through Open Space. He's also in my band, My Asphalt Victim. And I asked him to compose the soundtrack for the film. So he composed a really beautiful solo piano soundtrack that I'm pretty much in love with. I think you guys will like it too. So you should check out the film if you want to hear it. And I think that soundtrack will also be on Spotify eventually at some point by itself.
Definitely.
Listen to.
But most importantly, right now we're in the My Road Reel film competition. It is up. Our entry page is live. And
we're doing it live.
We're going to be hounding you for the next month. I think it's up for the next month. Or at the end, by the end, it ends with this month, which is...
I mean, we've already started on Facebook. I posted the links.
Right, yeah. And I'm sure...
I think 8 of you saw it. Thank you.
Yeah, right. So we'll put it in the description of this SoundCloud. We'll put it on our Twitter, which is...
at HMF Podcast.
At HMF Podcast, yeah. We really keep up a lot on Facebook if you guys want to like us on there.
True. But the link's actually not too bad, so I'm going to read it just so we can get it out there one more time.
No, that's an easy one, right?
www.rode.com, that's RODE, as in Rode Microphones, rode.com/myroadreel real.life/watch/entry/2268.
And that's real as in a film reel,
Yes.
REEL.
And yeah, obviously we'll also have that link posted all over every fucking thing we own. Because
So-
there's different categories. Like we're technically entered in the drama category, and then we qualify for different stuff, like actors and soundtrack and whatnot. But then the thing we're really trying to get, because it involves other people, is the People's Choice Award.
Right.
Just because that's something we can just get people to vote, and it doesn't have to be a decent film.
Listen, we don't have to win any other. Honestly, yeah. I mean, it's
We just want to win the popularity contest.
right, yeah, and that's what it is, and that's why we need everybody who does listen to this. Please go there. It's the easiest way to support us. It's literally 2 clicks.
Click
That's it.
once to log in with Facebook or Google Plus or our Road account, and then another click just to confirm your vote. And yeah.
Yeah.
So, and also let us know what you think of it.
Oh yeah, we'd love feedback
Give it
too.
in fingers form. How many
Oh
fingers? would
god,
you
give us some fingers on it, yeah.
Unless it's bad.
and
Don't tell me if it's bad.
and feel free to share it.
Yes, please.
So it's very exciting to share that with you guys after we've kind of kept everybody in the dark.
So load off our backs to finally have that
gosh.
done and out there, and just be able to show people. Response has been pretty cool so far. So yeah, watch it. Let us know what you think and vote.
right.
And so this week we are drinking one of my favorite names that we've been drinking on this podcast, Joe Mama's Milk from Keegan Ales. This has been sitting in my fridge for a very long time because I saw this and was like, we have to use this on the podcast at some point. And then we haven't been able to find the right episode for it in a while.
So I'm looking at it. I didn't realize until we were right about to record the podcast. It says milk stout with coffee added.
Yeah, the Keegan Ales, their most famous one is Mother's Milk, which is a milk stout that you'll find in a lot of cool
is
bars and whatnot.
Very interesting.
Let me take a
Coffee
sip.
stout. I'm not a huge stout fan, but this is pretty good. Sometimes stouts are a little too. I went to a brewery the other day and I was like, I'll have a stout. I love stouts. And then I drank half of it and I was like, can I have another
Yeah, some of
beer?
them can be aggressive. That's pretty easy going. I think the milk stouts they tend to be a little bit easier going. Easy on the mouth. So that's all right. Joe Mama's Milk. That's just the perfect name
Yeah.
for anything.
All right. So now for an IMDb description.
To rival ours. Which do you
Yes.
think is better? Tweet us and let us know.
So the IMDb description is: a mismatched pair of private eyes investigate the apparent suicide of a fading porn star, a fading porn star in the 1970s Los Angeles.
That's pretty good.
That is.
I feel like we've had a string of decent ones on
have.
IMDb. They've been all right.
IMDb is listening to the podcast and just getting their shit together.
Come on, we've got to do better for those boys.
Those 2 boys, they have at least 100 listens per episode. They've been kind of...
It adds up.
It's been under 100 lately, but they're going to come back. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So I believe Mike has mic notes just because we are on the brink of a party.
Very, very serious squad party.
Inviting all the boys over for me and my friend, former guest, Nick Ocello.
Yeah.
Actually, last episode's guest. We both had our birthdays like a month or 2 ago.
I'm just so busy with the film. Yeah, we haven't had time to celebrate them.
Yeah. This is usually how we do it anyway. It's just, so you got some mic notes since I was
some mic notes
busy.
for the noise guys.
I was busy vacuuming the walls and
Cleaning up for your boys. So The Nice Guys was directed by Shane Black and written by Shane Black and Anthony Bagarozzi. This is Anthony's first screenwriting credit. He literally doesn't even have a Wikipedia page yet, so
Right, yeah.
That's how fresh this kid is. And then Shane Black has done a lot. He's previously directed Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Iron Man 3, and Edge. And he's previously written all 4 Lethal Weapon films, Last Action Hero, The Long Kiss Goodnight, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Iron Man 3, Edge, and The Monster Squad.
yeah. I remember.
I know you have some thoughts about Shane Black.
I do. I was like, Mike, you can write the notes, but I can also talk about him just because he's such an interesting guy. When he wrote, I was just super interested in him at one point when he wrote.
I have to correct myself. I forgot to go back and correct this. He didn't write all 4 Lethal Weapon movies. He wrote the first 2, and then he's credited for the characters for 3 and 4.
Right,
He didn't write 3 and 4.
But he like went to UCLA, and then he got out, and he was like 20 years old, or I guess maybe when he was 20 years old, he went to like some pretty big producer, and he's like, "What do you think of like this like script?" And like he had written like half of Lethal Weapon, and the producer was like, holy shit. He's like, when can you finish this? And he's like, I don't know, probably soon, I guess. So by the time he's like, I don't know, by the time he's 24, he's literally the highest paid screenwriter of like that time, and I think of all time at that point when he's 24 years old, because he's just pumping them out, like, you know. And
Really?
Lethal Weapon was, they paid top dollar for that script and everything. And I remember he bought like some huge like 1920s like mansion, like wanted to be like Great Gatsby or something, and he would throw like ragers and stuff. He's like a super interesting guy. People still refer to him as like the god of spec scripts, and people also credit him basically for
90s action was like...
People credit him for like one of the founding fathers of essentially action movies, which makes sense.
I had also read that while he was writing Lethal Weapon, he basically just completely threw it, like literally threw it in the trash, and then at a later point, like was able to fish it out, and there was like lettuce stains and coffee stains on it, and he sold that original draft of the Lethal Weapon for a lot of money.
He's very, I think he's always obsessed with like thinking that he's a hack or whatever. He definitely fell off for a while. Like he didn't.
It was like a 9-year span where he didn't do anything.
He didn't want to do anything, and he came back with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang because I think he had earlier applied to be in the Academy, and the Academy essentially was, I mean, they put it nicely, but they were like, you write action movies, like we don't want you in the
I read
Academy.
they rejected him with that his repertoire was thin or something like that, like he didn't have enough movies, but like, he had done like Lethal Weapon, which was like,
and he's the highest paid screenwriter in the world.
He had done 1 or 2 other movies at that point, I think, too. Either Long Kiss Goodnight or Last Action Hero was one of the first ones. And it was kind of the Academy being like, well, you're doing action movies, we don't really care about those.
Right, yeah. And so I think he wrote Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is I'll go on and compare that to this movie because that was such a groundbreaking movie in many ways. It was super noir, and it resurrected the career of
Robert
Downey Jr. And it's a great film. But yeah, so they essentially did let him back into they accepted him into the Academy after that film. He still never receives like any sort of nomination or anything by the Academy, which sucks, but I can also understand it.
You should have gotten something for Monster Squad.
Yes. No, man, dude, that's the Last Action Hero was like, that's like notably one of the worst scripts of all time, I think.
Really?
Yeah, it's like it's a bad movie, but it's just also a bad script. I think he was like nominated for a Razzie or whatever that year. Yeah, which is just, I think, and that's when he started to fall off, kind of.
I gotta be honest, I don't think I've seen a lot of these movies. I've seen bits and pieces of the Lethal Weapon movies when I was younger, but they weren't ones that like my parents would really let me watch, and I never really went back for those. I think I've seen Last Action Hero and then Iron Man 3, and that's about it from his repertoire.
Right. I've seen most of the Lethal Weapon. I don't think I had the heart to watch 4. I mean, not that he really wasn't involved by the time it got to like 3.
It was just his characters.
I'm sure, yeah. But yeah,
was 4 the one where they brought Joe Pesci on?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. There was like some time where I didn't watch them until like I had like a laptop, and I think I just marathoned them and when I found them online. But anyway.
But yeah, so the film The Nice Guys stars Ryan Gosling, Russell Crowe, Angry Rice. I don't know how to say that name.
Yeah.
Kim Basinger, Matt Bomer, and a surprise cameo from Hannibal Buress that I enjoyed.
When was that?
He's the Bumblebee in the weird dream sequence. What's up
Oh,
with
yeah,
that?
yeah. I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, not too much more. It's got a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's pretty good. Based on 201 reviews with an average score of 7.6 out of 10. Yet the film has only grossed a little over 31 million worldwide so far on a budget of 50 million. So I expect
Kind of in the red.
Yeah, I expect they'll make it back eventually, especially with DVD sales and whatnot. But I don't think it's as good as they were expecting. Although I know their opening did a little bit better. They were expecting 10 million and they got 11.5 million maybe on the opening.
I didn't realize that what's his name directed it literally until I was in Shane Black directed it until I was in the theater. And I mean, I guess
They advertise it as the director of Iron Man 3. Like, and I would think like the director of Lethal Weapon 1 and 2 would be like the... I know people like Iron Man 3, but I would think that would... I mean, I guess they're trying to get the younger audience in.
Right,
at this
yeah.
point. But you would think that would be a bigger credit. Like, oh, the guy who did Lethal Weapon is coming back to do Buddy Cop again.
Right. I mean, he didn't actually direct any of the Lethal Weapon movies. He just was the screenwriter.
You're right, yeah. Right.
But, I mean, still... I don't know. They should have been like the guy who thought of Lethal Weapon, right?
Yeah. The Lethal Weapon franchise,
or the creator. Or they should have came up with some term because this is literally a Lethal Weapon movie.
Yeah.
At points, it's a very and I mean he's written so many buddy cop movies after that, and this is honestly, for the intro I wanted to be like, like Shane Black, like. What's it called? Like
getting too old.
Yeah, getting too old for this shit. Like, as in like the buddy cop movies. I never really figured out a way to make it work. So, but I do. I feel like it's kind of a tired kind of. I don't know. It's a tired genre. I kind of felt tired of it just sitting in the theater watching it.
Although I feel like we haven't really had it in a while, besides like Ride Along. But I don't think anyone gives a shit about Ride Along. Really.
Oh no, yeah. But
it kind of fell off for a while.
And that's the other thing that I noticed is like when I was watching this, I feel like I was trying to put myself in Shane Black's position, who has been, out of the game kind of for a while, especially the buddy cop game. And, sorry, burping. But, I feel like action movies nowadays are either funny or there needs to be like some sort of conscience, like there needs to be some sort of message, kind of.
Yeah, it's never just like
yeah,
guys fighting, bad guys. It's like, oh, it's some message about the environment or like gay rights or something, like some bigger than, the action type thing.
And yeah, and I feel like he tried to avoid both of those, but he also fell into both of those kind of thing. So he's kind of...
this does end up being about the environment.
Yeah, it does.
It's funny.
Which I think, do you have any more notes or?
No, that's about it. I just have film notes from there on.
Because I really loved the opening scene. The opening scene.
My note is just film opens with boobs.
Yeah. The opening scene, like I had no idea what this movie was going to be like. I mean, I've seen the trailer so many times. Like,
oh god, this is one of the most.
I hate this trailer. Like,
I liked it at first, but I've seen it so many times. Literally, when we started this podcast. That trailer was one of the first trailers. I forget what the first movie we saw.
We've been watching,
Spectre. Yeah. Nice Guys trailer played when we were watching Spectre for the first batch of episodes for this podcast. Mm-hmm. And we've been seeing it ever since. Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah. So we've been we have been seeing it for like literally 30 weeks.
Pause
it.
Pause
yeah, I'm gonna pause this.
We're gonna do a first ever pause starting How Many Fingers. And we're back.
Don't put the burp in there.
It's our first ever pause in a How Many Fingers episode. Thank you, Ken and Mike, our honorary guests right now.
It's for a good cause. The boys are here.
The boys are back in town.
Like I said, we were cutting it kind of close with this party that we were throwing. Now these poor boys got to sit in silence.
Now we're two worlds have collided.
I expect more boys to show up, though. We only have male friends.
What were we talking about? We were talking about the trailer and how we've seen it like 30 fucking times at this point by now.
Oh no, yeah. That's all we see.
One of the most like played trailers since then. I think we were talking about the opening too. How fucking
Oh yeah, I was about to say
the boobs.
I don't know if I've said this yet, but that was literally the most pulpiest opening scene I've seen. That's the most pulpiest opening scene I've seen in a very long time in film. It was just literally, it's a young boy in his pajamas, and he goes into his parents' room where his parents are sleeping, and then he gets like a porno magazine, and then walks into the kitchen, pours himself like a glass of milk, and so there he is in like his jammies, drinking like a glass of milk and looking at, what's her name?
Misty Mountains.
Misty Mountains. And it's kind of like, man, what I wouldn't do to have her here, kind of. And then no sooner does a fucking car surge through the side of the house.
They set it up great too, because like he looks out the window and sees like a car coming around the bend, and then he bends down and he just goes back to looking at the magazine, and then you hear a loud crash, and like I thought that was set up brilliantly. Yeah, and then he goes outside, and none other than Misty Mountains was the driver of the car, and she's like been thrown out of the window, out of the car. She's on the ground, and she's laid out literally
in the
like
same position.
She's laid out like a Playboy centerfold, completely nude for some reason. But I really did like the way that scene was laid out.
Yeah, and she looks exactly. Say we're struggling with a ginger ale bottle.
Aren't we all?
In life, aren't we all struggling with this? Is going to
be
the most
just a big ginger ale bottle.
People are going to be listening to this episode being like, what are they
How many people are there? Who are they talking about?
But I literally think this sets up this kind of... And what he does next is he... yeah, and I feel like, is she like laid out in the same position that she was in the magazine?
It's not the same. It's definitely like a centerfold position. Like her legs are kind of crossed to kind of hide a little bit. And she's completely nude. She's got like a little bit of a shirt on, but it's like hanging off the sides. It's definitely like a Playboy like centerfold like position that she's laid out in.
Covered in blood. And I think
like the best Playboy models.
But I think what he does next is I think he covers her with his jacket.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the first... that and this whole, juxtaposition of, drinking a glass of milk and, like, looking at, like, a porno magazine is, like, it just has this theme of innocence throughout the whole thing. And I think even more it has this theme of decency, because what he does next is he puts a jacket to kind of cover her as she dies. And I think, like... What a fucking opening scene. I was really blown away by that.
Although it was confusing for me because I thought that the boy, just the way they set it up, I thought the boy was going to be one of the main characters.
Right,
like that was like an opening scene from his childhood that he was like remembering.
Right, yeah.
And then it took me a while to come around to what that actually was.
But yeah, and it is kind of like, but the decency thing, it is like, man, what I wouldn't do if she was like here, kind of, and then like she is there
and he covers her.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a whole decency thing. And I think later along in the plot, I think there is kind of more innocence and decency. The girl, the Ryan Gosling,
Holly,
she does something too. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's something that follows in the footsteps of that theme.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. I had a whole point about that.
I don't even remember what it is.
But then after that, we're introduced to the two main characters. And we have Ryan Gosling playing Holland March, who is an alcoholic private eye, a recent widower, and a pretty bad father.
Terrible. Nobody cares about this child in this movie.
It's awful. But he's Misty Mountain's aunt actually enlists his services to find her niece, who she claims to have seen alive in her apartment a couple days ago before the movie starts. But Holland suspects it may have something to do with this missing girl named Amelia Kuttner. And I really liked Ryan Gosling character. He's kind of like the Mr. Magoo of like detectives. Like he's like very drunk all the time, and he's like either accidentally finding clues or he's like escaping danger or like dodging bullets just because of like how drunk he is like the entire time. Like we said, he's a horrible father. His young daughter Holly is always out by herself at an old vacant lot at like all hours of the night. He doesn't care. He lets her drive the car all the time.
Right, yeah.
He ends up at one point losing track of her at an adult entertainment party where she ends up watching a porno with one of the film stars.
Yeah, it's... she's also almost just murdered in cold blood there. by people who are seeking out.
Yeah, probably even worse than the adult film part is the part where she's almost murdered.
Right. She almost dies several times during this film.
Yeah. And I think they had this line in the trailer, but I love that line where she's like, Dad, there are whores here and stuff. And he's like, don't say whores and stuff. Just say whores.
Right, yeah.
And then we're introduced to the Russell Crowe character of Jackson Healy, who is an enforcer who is hired by this Amelia Kuttner girl to basically convince Holland to stop looking for her. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of like a tough guy with a soft spot. And he kind of ends up sending the whole film going because these two thugs come to his apartment and they attack him because they're looking for Amelia. And he kind of realizes that she's in danger after that. So he ends up enlisting Holland March, the Ryan Gosling character, to help seek out Amelia because he's heard from a few close friends that he's actually pretty good at being a private eye.
Right.
And that's kind of where the whole film starts, is the three of them, Holland March, Russell Crowe as Jackson Healy, and then Holland March's daughter, Holly, looking for Amelia Kuttner.
Right, yeah. And again, I mean, one of the first complaints I have with this movie, not only do I think it's kind of like overwritten, which I think is kind of like, he was, he's a hotshot screenwriter, kind of.
Yeah.
Who's writing this. And so it's kind of a little overwritten at parts, including the fucking, like, dual voiceover in the beginning.
Yeah.
Where both of them are narrating the movie, and they don't know each other yet, and it's kind of like,
it was also another case, I think we've talked about this in other reviews before, where I absolutely hate when movies use a voiceover narration in the beginning, and then it's just a device to set up the film, and then they don't use it throughout the entirety of the film. I love voiceover when it's throughout the entire film, and it's it's the voice of the film. But when it's just to set it up, and then you forget about the voice until I don't even know if they bring it back at the end. At this point,
they don't. No,
in this movie, it's literally just to set shit up in the beginning.
It is. I didn't like that at all.
It ends up feeling like a cheap ploy at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of things that they do are kind of a little too on the nose for my interest. But yeah, I'm trying to think of there's definitely a theme that they present also in the beginning of, are you a good or a bad person, kind of. Yeah. And that's kind of where the nice guys title
Holly
comes
literally
from.
asks Jackson at one point, just because he's the guy, when he first meets Holland March, he literally breaks his arm in the one scene. Right. So when Holly sees him, she's like, oh, you're the guy that broke my dad's arm. And Holland March's like, you sucker punched me. But she ends up asking him at a later point, are you a bad person? And that's kind of like a theme for the entire movie. And it's kind of her driving it because she, for the most part, is like one of the better people in this movie the entire time. And she has this idea of, being a good person no matter what. So like she's mad at the way her dad handles clients. So he's a pretty decently good person,
right?
But he still kind of swindles people out of money. Like he'll do the job, but not 100%. And
right,
he'll take a long time to do a job that he probably could have done in like 24 hours and gotten it done, and he'll still charge them for the 3 days it took him to do it.
Definitely. I'm not a huge fan of the Ryan Gosling character either. It was kind of like a mix of
there's a lot going on.
He's kind of like in his own way, but he's a good detective when he tries. And the whole alcoholic thing is kind of more of a gag than it is like a trait, kind of at certain points.
Like I said, he's literally like Mr. Magoo. Like,
he's
only kind of like a really good detective.
Drunks, right,
Everything he does that's good, it's an accident because he's drunk, and he he stumbles on the dead body at one point that they find. Or, he just like happens to think of something because he bumps into something because he's drunk and whatnot.
Right, yeah.
He really is not a good detective.
Yeah, no, he is.
Or as Holly says at one point, he's the world's worst detective.
Right, yeah. I don't know. There was another, I'm going to skip around in this plot. I don't really... I mean, I feel like we've kind of established it and everything. But there is a point where... there's like some things in the plot that don't make sense to me, kind of like when the girl's mother kind of hires them, and I feel like they're not really trusting her, but they kind of are like, oh yeah, sure, we'll do this kind of thing. And then also when that black woman who works for her and Ryan Gosling is randomly like attracted to her or something, and that's kind of like a goof thing. Yeah. And then what and then she like asked him to do that favor to like transport the fake money, and they're kind of just like, they have this girl in their house who there's like hitmen being sent after, and she's in the same house as his daughter or whatever, and then he gets a call and she's like, hey, can you deliver like this fake money? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then like also like the other character, the Russell Crowe character, is kind of like, yeah, sure, like kind of, and they both go.
Yeah, he's the one that probably wouldn't go along with it.
Right, yeah, it seemed very out of character, kind of, for both of them, almost.
Yeah, the film got a little muddled at that point, where
Right.
there's a lot of, it's one of my complaints about the movie is that it's pretty lighthearted throughout, but it ends up becoming like a pretty intricate like mystery in terms
Right.
of the way the story is set up, and it ends up being almost too intricate for how lighthearted the film is, where I think I would have preferred it to be more
Oh,
just
definitely.
like, I would just want to enjoy the jokes, and the mystery can have a cool twist at the end, but like
Right, because it's like it's caught up in the pornography industry. It's caught up in the automobile industry, and it has a lot to do with the environment and smog, which you can see like a lot of smog in every
Yeah.
scene. And it's heavy.
which is cool. I do like that whole LA noir type kind of vibe,
Oh,
especially
definitely.
the retro 70s LA noir kind of vibe.
Yeah, the black woman too. I gotta stop calling her that. Who is that?
I will find out for
I
you
don't
so
know.
you can stop calling her the black woman.
I don't like her performance. I don't like Basinger, whoever that woman is.
Basinger,
I
yeah.
wasn't crazy about her performance either. I don't know. And the two scenes that like all these things kind of being asked by them.
Yaya DaCosta is
Oh, okay.
Tally, who is Kim Basinger, who is someone in the State Department's or Department of Justice, rather, her assistant.
But I feel like a lot of things being asked of them, and they're kind of just willingly agreeing. I don't know whether that was bad writing and or whether like something was cut from the film. They were like, oh, it'll kind of make sense, and like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think they needed something stronger to kind of drive these two characters. Like they have Holly
Yeah.
being like, oh, we have to find this girl.
Right.
We have to be a good person. And I think you can tell that Jackson definitely kind of wants to be a better person. He wants to, kind of turn his life around a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I don't really feel that from the Ryan Gosling character, Holland
Right.
March. And I think they could have easily done something with, there was something weird about the way his wife died. Because that's kind of, he's a recent widower. It was something where like it was his fault. So like that explains
Because
him
he
like...
couldn't smell the gas leak,
Oh, yeah.
which is just
It ends
like
up being a punchline, which was kind of funny.
it was just like such
they
a
could-
big goof. Like yeah,
They could
it
have
was-
done
yeah.
something where it was like, he didn't do the right thing one time.
Exactly, right.
And now it's his chance to like turn things around, and his daughter, spurs him on to be a better person. And but it ended up just being because he couldn't
I'm
smell.
smell blind.
I did love that line though, because it's just so ridiculous.
What is that movie that's the like Walk Hard or whatever? Yeah. Where he's like, you were born without the smell.
Wrong kid died.
The wrong son died. But they're sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna say they didn't do a lot of exposition for each of the characters, which is fine. I
Yeah.
did like the little bit of exposition they did for Jackson Healy, and he was doing like narration at one point, and it was kind of a case of like unreliable narrator where he was saying something about like a past relationship and why it ended.
Right.
And then they do a flashback where he's at dinner with his girlfriend. His girlfriend is literally like, "Oh, I'm sleeping with your father." He
Right, yeah,
spits
yeah.
out the water. I thought that was a really funny scene.
That was funny. I don't know. I keep talking about like bad rating, but like I think there is like a lot of there are some good parts. Like there's a lot of like kind of reoccurring motifs, like the Ryan Gosling character falling from like a high place, kind of. They're at that pornography star movie party, and he like kind of falls off the balcony because he's so drunk. And then there's another part where they're at the auto show, and I thought that scene was bananas.
Oh, when he and the other guy fall from the
Right,
balcony.
he goes to save his daughter, and they fall, and the other guy just misses the pool, and his body kind of just explodes into blood, and then Ryan Gosling just kind of falls in the pool. It was very funny.
Yeah, there was. I thought the film had really good like physical comedy, which I feel like we haven't seen in a while. Like, I
Yeah,
feel like people kind of just forgot about like how good physical comedy could be.
I also feel like it got like really good reviews because like a lot of like the slapstick and violence, which I feel like I'm kind of like I'm not a child of like the Three Stooges as much as like most critics are, kind of like.
I don't know that it's Three Stooges, but it's just like it's. I think it's well acted. Like Ryan Gosling, I think is a brilliant like physical actor. And a lot of it is literally in the trailer that we've seen a million times. So I wasn't as enthused with it by the time I got to the movie. But like the scene of him in the bathroom where he's approached by Jackson Healy the first time that he wants to work together. But since Jackson had broken his arm before, he's got a gun. He's also reading a magazine and he's smoking a cigarette. So he's trying to like hold the bathroom door open to point the gun at Jackson, but he's got the cigarette. The cigarette falls. There's a lot of good physical humor there. They have the other scene where he throws the gun to Jackson and it just goes right out the window.
Right, yeah.
And then this scene I really liked is when, I think it's during the exposition in the beginning when Ryan Gosling is narrating and he's trying to break into someone's house as like a private eye. It's another case of like unreliable narrator because I think he's saying something about how he's like a decent private eye, but he like breaks the window to try and reach the lock and then he just severs an artery.
Yeah,
and
like, he slits his wrist.
That's a lot of blood. That was good. I appreciated that. I mean, I grew up on films like, you know, Naked Gun and like Airplane and stuff like that. Where, I mean, not necessarily the spoof aspect of that, but like the physical humor that was in comedies from back then. I think when it's well acted, it can really play off well.
I wasn't super crazy about like kind of the 70s setting. It was just kind of like, you know, like some parts I did enjoy, like, oh, there's some band playing like Earth, Wind and Fire on the you know, roof of this, you know, porn star party. But there was other times where I was just kind of like, I feel like I've seen this done way better. I mean, I
like that they didn't like beat us over the head with it. Where
It
it was
starts
like,
out,
look at these ridiculous outfits they're wearing, and listen to this music they're listening to, and they didn't have cell phones back then. Like, it was just kind of the setting that the characters were in, and it made sense for the mystery, you know, pornos back then, or obviously it's a different industry than it is back, you know, currently
it was,
now.
it kind of like also, I didn't, there's a boy here making lots of noise. I forget what I was gonna say. There was another line that Ryan Gosling said where he was like, you know, like, so you're making a porn movie without a, you know, where like the what was it called? I lost my train of thought when Dan and Proto made eye contact with me. Look at this schmuck with his light blue. You wanna say something, Dan?
Do you want to get a podcast?
I don't want to say nothing. But he was like, oh, you guys making like a porn where like the point is the story or something? And I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know. It seemed kind of a little ahead of its time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't imagine how common porn video was back then in the 70s.
Right, yeah.
To begin with. Like, I feel like everyone really just had Playboy at that point.
Right, yeah, exactly. I don't know. I did get a lot of vibes. I mean, like, yeah, it wasn't... I mean, I feel like the 70s kind of porn was kind of outplayed with, like, Boogie Nights, where, like, every time they brought up porn, I would be like, well, this was done better in Boogie Nights or something. And then the whole Detective in L.A. thing, I was kind of like, you know, this is kind of done, like, a little better in, like, The Big Lebowski, where he's kind of a bumbling kind of, like, I'm always drunk and high and solving... shit around in LA and stuff where they are. So
I thought, I mean, I don't think it was too overbearing, but I think it worked, the whole setting, like I said.
I did not like the theme of, you know, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I did kind of end up liking the way the mystery sort of turned out in the end.
Oh, definitely, right.
I thought there was a good amount of twists and surprises, and some of them were pretty surprising. Like, I mean, spoiler alert at this point, but I wasn't really expecting the Kim Basinger character to end up being the bad guy in the end.
Right, yeah.
But then some of them were just, like I had said before, they're a little too intricate for it being like a lighthearted film.
It was
where I kind of just wanted to sit back and laugh and enjoy, because there's a lot of comedy things going on. I don't think it might have gotten too deep into, like, you know, the auto industry and the porn industry and this character is this character. And
I kind of wanted it to be Rush Hour at some points, you know?
It did feel like Rush Hour at some points, I have to admit. That was definitely the theme I got a lot, was Rush Hour.
The whole, I don't know, something with the daughter kind of, I mean, like, I don't know if that was like a thing in the 70s where you didn't really like look after your kid.
No, I think that's supposed to be part of his character because he's recently widowed, so he's probably not used to having to look after her. And he's obviously just going through like a hard time. And I think that's something I would have liked more, as much as it is a lighthearted movie and it ends up being comedy.
Right.
Like, he's obviously like going through some really hard shit, like the amount that he's drinking, like the,
And
the amount of
that's,
like fucked up he is for the entirety of the movie.
Yeah, I didn't like that alcoholism was just, it became uncomfortably a punchline.
Yeah.
It was just like to hit you over the head with like,
When there was no resolution for it at the end, like he solved everything at the end just by being incredibly like drunk and like, oh, I'm gonna save the day with this like reel of film at the end.
and in the end, nobody really quit drinking. He didn't really quit drinking, and then I think the other one started drinking. Or
I mean, the only real like serious character development was Jackson Healy. And his relationship with Holly, where, you know, again, she'd asked him before, are you a bad person? And he kind of like hesitated. And then there's the one scene where the one guy, Blueface, who, side note, I thought was Max, what's his name? The guy who wrote Superman, the comic,
Landis.
Max Landis. I thought it was Max Landis, just the way he was talking the entire time.
Right, yeah.
Was disappointed to find that he hadn't made a cameo in this. Blueface, who had like stolen Holly in the car and ran away, and Jackson and Ryan Gosling had chased after them. And then Blueface is like in the street, he gets hit by a car.
Right.
And it's like he's gonna die. It's kind of like an animal that needs to be put down at that point.
Right.
And I
It's
think
like the opening scene of House of Cards.
and like Jackson's about to do something, and Holly's like, "No, like you don't have to like kill him." Like, and then she walks away at one point, and he ends up strangling Blueface to death. And when she comes back, he like lies to her, and he's like, "Oh no, he died of his injuries."
Yeah, he make it. Yeah.
But you can kind of tell in her reaction that she probably doesn't believe him, and I think he even confirms it at one point, or she says something to him like, "Oh, I know that guy didn't die naturally, and whatnot." But then at the end, when there's that John Boy character, Matt Bomer, fighting. He kind of has him like cornered, and he's like about to do something to kill him, and Holly is like again like, "Oh no, you don't have to do this." And this time he does spare John Boy's life, which is like a tiny little bit of like character progression. But I don't know that they really ended up setting up a place where that was like totally warranted in terms of like, I don't know if I really felt that Russell Crowe's character wanted to be a better person.
Right. Yeah.
And if he did, I don't really understand why he wanted to be a better person. Like it seemed like life was going all right for him before.
Yeah, no.
He didn't seem like maybe if they had explained something like, oh, like, you know, he's longing for a family, his wife took his daughter away or something, so, you know, Holly is like replacing that hole for him, so he's willing to do something for her.
Right, yeah.
Like, I felt like it was kind of lacking on some of the deeper emotional parts, and it would hint at them, and they would be there. They would have the scenes with Jackson and Holly, like where he approaches her and she's at the vacant lot, and they end up talking about how her mom died.
Right,
and
yeah.
They kind of just leave that there. They don't really go deeper than that. I think that's where I think that's where the film was probably most lacking for me, is when it didn't go deeper there.
Same, yeah.
Because if you're not going to go deeper there, then don't present it. Just be a slapstick, like, funny comedy.
Exactly,
And that would be fine.
I don't, and that was the thing where I really don't think this movie knew what it was for a lot of the time.
I don't think I knew what this movie was for a lot of it.
Right, yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
I guess we're gonna start wrapping up some overall thoughts. I don't know if you want to go first.
Are we showing fingers?
If you want to.
Do you want me to?
Do you mean it? You mean it, Paul?
I think I'll do a finger. I think I'll do a finger, and I'll explain a lot of what I was thinking.
Okay.
So it'll be a little long-winded. I'll end with the fingers. So overall, I don't know. I just wanted them to care more about that fucking little girl. It bugged me to no end.
Just be a father.
She was incredible though. She almost outacted both of them, Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. And again, she was the consciousness, like the film. Asking good or bad. Asking whether it's good or no. She answers whether he's good or bad in the beginning, and then by the end, she's kind of asking, like, "Are you good or bad?" At the end, I do think this film was indebted to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yes. And again, not nearly as revolutionary as Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I did really like this sort of like hired thug and kind of, hapless sort of private eye duo. I did like that. I did think a lot of the writing was good. I thought visually the film was like great.
Oh yeah.
Just a lot of things didn't add up. I think, I don't know. There was I almost felt like a better movie was like, that happened in the 70s. I think that happened in the 70s, but like the Starsky and Hutch
That's
movie.
what I thought it was going to be more like.
And I almost feel like that was a better movie because it committed to what it was. That was Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson, wasn't it? Or who was in there?
Well, that was the remake of the original Starsky and Hutch.
Right, but who was
series or
who was that? What? Oh, it was a TV series.
yeah, Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah. And I was glad, like, this... I was kind of glad this didn't have that, like, kind of, like, wah-wah, like, ticka-ticka-ticka-ticka, like, kind of, like, hey, freeze, motherfucker! Like, 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 some, like, fucking
Well, yeah, that was
70s
that was funny, but
anthem.
that was one
Yeah.
that literally hit you over the head with.
Yes.
Whereas this, it felt like it was just a comedy that happened to be in the 70s in Los Angeles.
You can tell
in
they
like a
spent
noir setting.
a fucking fortune on
50
soundtrack
million.
royalties. What?
50 million
On the budget?
for this was 50 million.
Yeah, and a lot of that had to go to the soundtrack royalties. That is the
I hope that picked up.
sound of Nicosello entering the room, of entering the party. But I don't know. And then there was like also the thing where she like hid in the. Oh, Nick, is your girlfriend here? Nick, you want to say something on the podcast?
This is my girlfriend.
Oh,
He's
yes.
Nick just held out his right hand as his girlfriend.
This can be an open. If any squad wants to say anything,
I want to say something.
okay.
Yeah. Sorry for being really drunk last time around.
The only other thing I didn't like that she hid in the trunk when they went to the porn star movie. That was porn star sort of house party. I didn't like that she went in. It felt just weird to
That
me.
he let her in, or that she wanted to go in.
Just that the whole her coming back kind of thing. Her coming back and being there and seeing pornography kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
And her hiding in the trunk was kind of like too Speed Racer for me. Like
I always feel weird with scenes like that in a movie because I'm like, I mean, she's playing a character, but the actor is still pretty young. Like,
right. Yeah.
in these scenarios where people are like cursing around her and there's nudity and whatnot. Like,
Yeah, but that's literally every thought that I have on this movie. Again, it was just slick enough not to fall apart, and I'm gonna give it 2 fingers.
2 fingers.
2 fingers, just above average.
Less
I mean,
than
just
average.
below average.
Fair enough.
Give me your thoughts.
Movie thoughts.
Your beer thoughts.
I think I enjoyed it overall. I really liked the physical performances of everyone. I thought Ryan Gosling particularly was really good at that kind of physical humor, and he's just a very funny guy overall. I really enjoy when he does roles like this because I think he's a better comedic actor than a dramatic actor, and he is a very good dramatic actor.
Oh, definitely,
but
right.
I think I enjoy him more in these kind of funny roles where we're laughing at him. I think Russell Crowe was all right. It's nothing like groundbreaking. I don't know if he's going to do anything groundbreaking for a while.
Right.
But I think he's serviceable in the role, and I think everyone else is fine. And overall, I remember leaving the theater feeling, refreshed, and I thought it was fun and enjoyable. And I think it's kind of a refreshing return to like the physical comedy of like buddy cop movies from the past. And I think it's a pretty appealing 70s Los Angeles, mystery noir setting. And I thought the mystery in the end was pretty cool the way it all turned out.
It definitely, yeah.
I guess we're not totally going to spoil everything, but just the twists and turns that went on with all of that, it felt pretty real to mystery and to noir and all that. But again, maybe a little bit too long for what it was. I think I wish it would have committed more to just being a straight up comedy in
Same,
a dark
yeah.
setting,
Right.
or just a dark comedy in general, and maybe dropped some of the
No,
side
a
plots.
dark comedy would have been I didn't even think of that. Yeah, it would have been
Which
a
is
good
kind of what it
dark-
ends
yeah.
up being, but
Right.
it ends up being like a dark
It's a
dramedy
little-
at
yeah,
certain points. and I wish it would have just committed more to just because I mean, there's some like ridiculous scenes in this, like to have like those kind of dramatic scenes where they're like touching on some real emotions. But then there's like the dream sequence scene, which like was ridiculous, but I loved it at the same time because of the way it was set up. Just that whole like Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe are driving, and Ryan Gosling says something like, "Oh man, like you got to take the wheel, like I'm falling asleep here." And then I think it goes into this weird sequence where like Russell Crowe literally says like, "Oh, just let go,"
Right?
And he just stops driving, and then there's like a bumblebee in the back seat, voiced by Hannibal Buress, just like saying weird stuff.
Yeah.
I really just like that transition of like, like him saying something that's real, and it seamlessly transitions to being in like a dream sequence. But it's still ridiculous, and it's something that's more suited for like a straight up comedy.
It was that felt very out of place for me.
Yeah,
honestly.
And I think if they had gotten rid of some of the more serious parts of the movie, some of the more emotional parts, and especially since they didn't really commit to resolving the emotional stuff that they brought up, if they just stuck with just being a lighthearted comedy, I probably would have liked it more. But again, overall, it's still enjoyable. I laughed pretty hard at a lot of the scenes, so I'm going to give it 3.5 fingers out of 5.
All right, cool. So
that
is
comes out to
2.5. No.
2.75, so it'll round down to 2.5 fingers.
All right.
Right up the middle for the nice guys. But, we got a whole party full of boys here. So
Yeah,
we're
we do.
wrap up real
Sorry,
quick.
this audio is a little screwy. We've gone 30 episodes.
We can do whatever we want.
Yeah, this is episode 31. Get used to it. No, I'm just kidding. This is we've obviously been super busy with the short film, and we had to fit it in here. We're running a little late, but
Right before a party, yeah.
yeah, but we put out an episode every single week, like consecutively for 30 weeks.
Pretty fucking impressive.
Right,
I'm
yeah.
very proud of us.
This is kind of this is the first time we've paused one. This is the first one we've had people yelling in the background. I'm getting really close to the mic so you can hear me. But I don't know.
We done all right.
We did all right.
So we're going to continue doing all right. Make sure you check out our website.
Continue doing all right.
HowManyFingersPodcast.com. Still a mess.
Still mess.
We got Twitter at HMF Podcast, Facebook, How Many Fingers Podcast, Instagram, How Many Fingers Podcast. We're now on Tumblr now. I don't think we've said that on an episode.
We
yet.
are. We're still catching up a little. We're posting a new episode every day. We're kind of
But
trying
if
to
you're one
catch
of
up.
those Tumblr
Definitely.
porn blogs or social justice warriors or whatever is still on Tumblr at this point,
Follow us.
check us out. HowManyFingersPodcast.tumblr.com.
Right.
And then obviously, please, if you can, go watch In Development. We're super proud of it.
Go vote.
And go vote, yes. We'll post the link in all of our stuff, but if you're driving and you want to be illegal and look on your phone while you're driving, road.com/myroadreel/watch/entry/2268. So yeah, please check that out and vote. We could really use your votes for the My People's Choice Road Reel Short Film 2016 blah 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 contest, whatever. So yeah, signing out for How Many Fingers the Podcast abruptly, so we can go party with some cute, adorable little boys, cute, loud, adorable boys. I'm Mike,
I'm Joe.
and Squad Forever.
Yes.